Officer Jake Henderson had always lived his life by the book. At 35, he was a respected white cop in a quiet southern town, known for his fairness and dedication. But Jake's life had been a lonely one since losing his wife, Emily, in a car accident 5 years ago. Every evening, he returned to an empty house, carrying the weight of his badge and the pain of a love lost. One day, responding to a domestic disturbance call, Jake arrived at a dilapidated house. Inside, he found three frightened black girls, siblings aged 8, 7, and 6, huddled together. Their mother had been taken into custody, and they had no other family to turn to. Child Protective Services arrived to take the girls to foster care, but something inside Jake stirred. The eldest, Amara, clung to her younger sisters, Zara and Kiara, her wide, tearful eyes filled with fear. Jake couldn't shake the image as he drove home that night. Weeks later, he learned that the girls were struggling in the system. They'd been separated into different homes, their bond fractured. He couldn't let it go. Jake made the decision that would forever alter his life. He applied to adopt them. The process was grueling. Questions about race, his single status, and his demanding job as a cop filled the interviews. People questioned his motives, but Jake was determined, driven by an unfamiliar but undeniable sense of purpose. Months passed, and finally, the day came. Amara, Zara, and Kiara stepped into Jake's modest home, their cautious smiles hinting at hope. It wasn't easy. The first few weeks were filled with challenges. Amara, fiercely protective, questioned Jake's every decision. Zara refused to eat certain foods, unfamiliar with his cooking. And Kiara, the youngest, cried herself to sleep every night, whispering for their mother. Jake found himself overwhelmed, unsure of how to reach them, but slowly, he began to learn. He discovered Amara's love for drawing and bought her sketchpads. He took Zara to the park, where she blossomed in the open air. Kiara, he found, loved bedtime stories. Night after night, he read to her, his deep voice weaving tales of courage and kindness. Over time, the walls began to crumble. One rainy evening, Amara handed Jake a drawing of their new family. It was messy and colorful, but Jake's eyes misted as he saw himself, smiling, with the three girls by his side. The community's reaction was mixed. Some admired Jake's selflessness, while others whispered judgments about a white man raising black children. Jake ignored the naysayers and instead sought to educate himself. He attended cultural workshops, learned to braid the girls' hair, and ensured they celebrated their heritage. Together, they cooked traditional dishes, danced to soulful music, and embraced the stories of their ancestors. Through it all, Jake learned as much from the girls as they did from him. They taught him about resilience, love, and the power of family. One day, while attending a school event, Amara stood on stage to present her essay titled My Hero. She spoke about her journey, about the man who had become her father. She described Jake not as perfect but as someone who tried, someone who loved without limits. Jake, sitting in the audience, wiped away tears as the room erupted into applause. Years passed, and the once frightened girls flourished. Amara pursued art, Zara excelled in athletics, and Kiara, ever curious, dreamed of becoming a teacher. Jake's house, once quiet and somber, became a haven of laughter and love. Holidays were filled with traditions old and new, the walls adorned with photos chronicling their life together. Looking back, Jake often marveled at how much his life had changed. Adopting the girls hadn't just given them a family, it had given him a renewed sense of purpose, a reason to keep going. He no longer came home to an empty house. Instead, he returned to the sound of giggles, to hugs that melted away the weight of the world.